Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm just going to be doing a casual sit down video. I haven't posted in a while and I wanted to get back to uploading, and so I figured I'd just do something that I could make pretty quick, film pretty quickly, and get out pretty quickly. And I've been watching a lot of horror comedies recently. I love horror comedies. I love horror, obviously. So I figured this just be a fun, quick video that I could kind of just sit down and chat to the camera and get out. So if you're new here, please subscribe and like and comment, and I'll be coming out with more cool stuff soon, hopefully. Thanks. So I'm going to break down this video into a couple different kind of subsections. There will be the intentionally funny or self-aware funny kind of movies, ones that are not so intentionally funny, at least not the moments that come off as funny to me and many others. And then we also have some movies that are just straight up like very, dark and disturbing horror movies that have some really great moments of humor within them, and some that I wouldn't even necessarily really consider a horror movie. They're just kind of hard to place. And then also a couple like honorable mentions for one or two TV shows that I think also kind of fall into the horror comedy realm. Okay, so with the intentionally funny, self-aware horror comedies, we have some of the classics like Evil Dead, which I just actually watched for the first time recently. All of the movies, obviously the original three movies, and I understand why most people love Evil Dead 2 more than Evil Dead 1. Evil Dead 1's great, and it's good to see, like, as a horror fan, it's nice to see what people have been talking about for so long, but I definitely get why Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are really like the cult classics, because like those are the fun, campy, don't take themselves seriously at all movies that are just great. In like kind of the same vein, I would say we have Tremors, which holds such a special place in my heart. So when I was younger, I did not watch any horror movies and was super scared of them because I thought that they would scare the crap out of me. And then I just happened to watch Tremors because it was on TV or something and loved it and was just like, this is amazing. And so I started watching horror movies because of that. So Tremors is really like my first horror movie, and it just is, yeah, I love Tremors so much. And I've watched at least the second one, and I love that too. Also similar, like just, Clue is another one of my favorite movies of all time. That movie just like top 5 favorite movies of all time, easily, constantly quote it, and I'm very frustrated when nobody gets my references, and people who love that movie and get the reference, you're my favorite people. Some more recent ones that are similar and I really, really enjoy are Cabin in the Woods, one of my absolute favorites. Such a fucking good movie. I own it just because it's just like, I want to be able to watch this movie whenever I feel like it. It's so quotable and just so perfect. Such a perfect love letter / parody to the genre, and just great. Also, I really like Happy Death Day to You is another really fun one that just has fun with the genre. The Babysitter, I think, even though it's campy and ridiculous and has Bella Thorne in it, it's also just like a fun time, like really fun to watch with friends. And also for me, it has Samara Weaving in it, and I fucking love Samara Weaving. She is not only like one of my favorite actresses, especially in any horror, but one of my celebrity crushes. So I'm just like, fucking Samara Weaving. So on that same vein, she's the queen of the horror comedy, and just also scream queen, or like literally screaming, like, oh my god. Ready or Not is so good. I love Ready or Not. I love showing that to people for the first time and just seeing their reactions, and it's just so good. Also Mayhem with my other celebrity crush, Steven Yeun. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That'd be really embarrassing if I'm not. I'm trying. I'm sorry. But yeah, just them two together causing literal mayhem and just having a bloody good time is so great. It's watch Mayhem if you have not seen it. I'm not saying it's the best movie ever, but if you are looking for just like a bloody good time with two extremely attractive people with amazing voices, both of them, amazing screams, and just like, like, sorry. It's so good. Watch it. So Scream is obviously like the classic as far as like big franchises. The classic horror comedy, and I love Scream. It's always been one of my favorites. I really liked the new one also. Thought that was really good. I really enjoy Better Watch Out. It's a fun Christmas horror. I'm not gonna lie, even like just for kind of laughs and ridiculousness, I enjoy the 2020, or was it 2020? No, 2019 remake of Black Christmas. I'm not saying it's a good movie. It's kind of fun to laugh at sometimes. I like the first parts of it. We've gone over this. I really enjoyed Fresh, which I actually just watched like 2 nights ago, and I think that's a great modern horror comedy, and I really like the commentary that it has on dating and rom-coms, and it just, I mean, my kind of rom-com. Not really into rom-coms unless it's 10 Things I Hate About You. The Jennifer's Body is one that I have always loved. I remember watching it on DVD when it first, I think, came on DVD, and I loved it, and I didn't understand why everybody thought it was such a bad movie. I was like, this is fucking awesome, because it was made for me. Like, it was made for my target audience at the time that I watched it, and, you know, if you don't know, it was marketed to, like, young, horny boys, and that was not what that audience was. That's not the audience that Jennifer's Body was made for. I love Jennifer's Body. It's not perfect in today's language. In today's world, there are some definitely very cringy dialogue and stuff like that, but overall, it's fun. It's great. Megan Fox is great in it. So, interestingly, Hellraiser, the original, is not on any of my lists, because I don't feel like there's a whole lot of humor, really, if any, or, yeah, I don't know, I don't find Hellraiser really, like, fun, or, actually, I'm rethinking it now, yeah, Hellraiser 1, okay, Hellraiser 1 and Hellraiser 2 are gonna be on my unintentionally funny list. Hellraiser 3 is on my intentionally funny list, because I feel like there's no, like, when they made that movie, and the fucking bartender, and the CD Cenobite, and all of those, like, you know, the camera Cenobite, they knew what they were doing, and I love it. I love Hellraiser 3. It's so fucking good. Just, especially, like, I bartend part-time, so, like, or not part-time, bartending is one of the jobs that I sometimes do at the restaurant I work at, and just seeing the fucking bartender Cenobite the shaker, like, I mean, there are some customers that fucking tempt me sometimes, but, yeah, so Hellraiser 3, I think, is intentionally funny at times, and is just really great. It's making me want to rewatch it right now. I love that fucking movie. Okay, so into some more, like, of the classic horror comedies. Some of these I haven't seen in a long time, or have only seen once recently, and generally enjoyed, but they're, like, not my favorites. Like, they're not what I am like, oh my god, you haven't seen this movie, you have to fucking see it. Not saying I don't like them. I genuinely like all of these. They're just not, like, yeah, like I said, just have only seen once, or haven't seen in a while, for the most part. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, saw once when I was a lot younger, enjoyed it, really have been meaning to revisit it. I just can't, like, say as, like, within the last 10 years that I've seen it and been like, oh my god, it's fucking awesome. I was pretty young when I saw it, and I hadn't seen as many horror movies. My love of horror wasn't as developed at that time. I recently saw Shaun of the Dead for the first time. I know that's crazy. I very much enjoyed it. Not my absolute favorite. Just gonna, like, it's great, but just like Halloween. I mean, this is unrelated, but, like, I saw Halloween for the first time ever this Halloween season, and it was great, but just, I mean, it's not my new favorite movie. Like, I still like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Black Christmas more, so sometimes it's just not everybody's favorite isn't everybody's favorite, you know? Zombieland was one of my favorites when me and my best friend in elementary school were obsessed with zombies and the zombie apocalypse, which I wish we had Train to Busan then. But yeah, Zombieland, great. Haven't seen it since I was probably about 12. So would love to rewatch it. have very fond memories of it. Haven't seen Zombieland 2 double tap, so maybe I'll do like a Zombieland rewatch and then watch the second one. But yeah, like I said, haven't seen it in forever, so I can't really like fully comment on it. Remember it being a great horror comedy. Trick or Treat, recently just watched for the first time. I'm gonna put Trick or Treat and VHS in the same vein. Recently watched for the first time. Obviously, Trick or Treat is much more of like a straight up horror comedy, and VHS is maybe at sometimes unintentionally funny and other times intentionally funny. I really enjoyed both of them. Not my new favorite movies, but they were good, and I was not disappointed after having watched them. I would say I slightly like Trick or Treat probably a little bit more. And then I think especially because they're both anthologies, they just feel very similar, and since I watched them both within the last like month or so, yeah, I just think Trick or Treat's a little bit better. And then I watched Freaky literally last night. Enjoyed it. It's not great. It's not horrible though. I mean, that's unfair. It was good. I mean, it's not like anything to write home about. Vince Vaughn was at first a little rocky as acting like a teenage girl, and then got actually like really into the swing of it, and I thought it was believable by the end. I think the acting was, especially by the end, was really good for the kind of movie that it is. But yeah, it was generally enjoyable. So really quick before we jump into the other subsections of this video, I would like to do some quick shout outs to two TV shows, coincidentally both by Ryan Murphy, that really were great examples of horror comedy for me, and I still love to go back and rewatch because of that, because they're dark and very fucked up moments, but at least like overall the mood is just so comedic and ridiculous and campy, and I fucking love it. And I think especially so Scream Queens and American Horror Story, specifically season 9 of American Horror Story. The other seasons, I have a whole video about it. But yeah, season 9 of American Horror Story is perfect, campy horror comedy for me. And same thing with Scream Queens. I love it. It's just so ridiculous and over the top. And so, I think especially like Scream Queens, the first season, I was watching it when I was still in high school and like living at home. And so that was something that just introduced me to like what horror comedy can be, where it's just like nobody gives a fuck, but it's great. And so I think that kind of shaped my love of horror comedy in certain ways. Yeah, okay, well, let's get into the other sections of the video. Okay, so let's get into the unintentionally funny. Not all of these I'm sure about. I'm not sure if they were meaning to be funny. I'm just gonna assume they weren't. Especially the first one we're gonna talk about. So the first one we're gonna talk about is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is, in my opinion, a masterpiece, and it's fucking hilarious. And I don't know if the director meant to be funny. I know a lot of his intentions with this movie. I don't think it was to be funny for the most part, but it's hard to know. We are talking about House from 1977. It is a Japanese horror movie. Hard to describe. It's a very hard to describe movie. It's essentially a horror movie, a haunted house movie from the perspective of a child, and partially written by a child. He had the assistance of his, I think, 10 or 11-year-old daughter at the time, in writing the script, and a lot of the ideas and deaths were of her own creation. It's amazing. It is beautiful. It's bizarre. I love it. But yeah, I don't know if he meant to be funny with this one. Actually, if I can, let me see. Yeah, right there. Right there. That is a poster that I have of House. That is how much I love it. So much. Right above my baby's cage. So yeah, that's... God damn it, now I have to set up the whole shot again. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's close out. Yes, so absolutely love House. One of my favorite movies. Okay. Now let's get into movies that I pretty much know they weren't trying to be funny. But some of these are ones that are not good movies. Let's be clear. At all. But I either have an appreciation for because just nostalgia, like watching them when I was a teenager, and also, yeah, just now watch back and I'm like, this is so fucking stupid and ridiculous. And I think I thought that for the most part when I was watching these, even as a teenager. But still, so don't judge me for the fact that I kind of like this trash, but it's not like I love it and respect it a bunch. It's just, you know, fun trash. So, Sorority Row. I don't remember what year this is from, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm fucking talking about. The girl from the hills is in it, and they kill their friend, and then somebody comes back and tries and murders them all. It's fucking ridiculous. There's a girl who dies in a, like, foam party by having a fucking flare shoved down her throat. It doesn't, half the deaths don't even make sense. It's ridiculous, but it's fun. Along that same vein, the 2009 Friday the 13th remake. Not good. Not good at all, but kind of a fun, ridiculous time. Especially the side characters in that. Like, all the main characters are fucking ridiculous and horrible and I hate them all, but the side characters, I love them. Like, the one stoner friend, he is my favorite. I love him so much. House of Wax. I think it's 2003, you know, Paris Hilton, Chad Michael Murray. This movie's fucking horrible, but it's so, I don't know why, I love it. Like, it's just, it's so bad, but it's so good. Like, just watching, like, the horrible acting and the ridiculous plot. But the one thing is, at the end at least, they have really, really cool practical effects. Not even necessarily with the deaths, it's more just the practical effect of the house of wax that's literally just made of wax melting. And they literally built a house of wax and melted it and literally almost killed Chad Michael Murray in the process. I found out after watching a bunch of, like, behind the scenes documentaries about this. They made a reality show about the behind the scenes of making this movie because it had these big stars in it. Yeah, just the practical effect of the house melting is so cool, and I've always just loved that scene. So literally, I think just because of that, I love this movie. Because I'm a huge fan of practical effects, as I feel like most horror fans are, obviously. Also, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, originally I just had Hellraiser 2 on this list because this is the one that is the most, like, outwardly, like, fucking hilarious, but I don't think that's what they're going for the most part. There are scenes that obviously aren't hilarious, but, like, overall, like, I forget the name of him, but the, like, main villain, the doctor dude in that movie, like, especially once he transforms, like, I'm sorry, I could not take him seriously at all. It was just fucking funny, and it was just like, what the fuck? And then the first Hellraiser a little bit, like, especially, like, when Frank bites, Julia's chin when they first hook up, that, you know, unintentionally funny, like, things, or Jesus popping out, that was, okay. Yeah, there's some moments in Hellraiser 1 were definitely, like, unintentionally funny. Yeah, okay. I feel good with that assessment. Okay, so last little section we have is straight up horror movies that are very disturbing and effective, but also have some great moments of levity and great moments of comedy. And it was funny because in preparation for this, to make sure I wasn't forgetting anything, I went and, like, looked up some lists of, like, best horror comedies, and there were some things that, like, popped up that I was like, the fuck? Like, The Lighthouse? How is The Lighthouse a horror comedy in literally any way? I mean, I have to admit, I only watched, like, probably the first 75 minutes of that movie with somebody else, and then I was like, I really, like, this is not the time for me to watch this movie, I have to change it. But still, like, there was nothing I saw that was comedic in that movie. But, like, other ones that I saw on there were, like, Get Out and Midsommar and all that, and yes, I see what they're talking about. So yeah, I agree. Midsommar has some really great comedy in there. Get Out and Us, both of Jordan Peele's movies, which makes a lot of sense since he's background before his horror movies was in comedy, so that really makes a lot of sense that especially within his movies. I think the original Black Christmas from 1974, especially any scene with Barb in it, has some really great comedy sparsed in within the terrifyingness that is that movie. Also, Train to Busan, specifically for me, it has some really, really, really great comedic moments, especially usually with, it's so funny because I always call him Mikey Dad, and that's not his name in any fucking possible way, but because I listen to the Horror Virgin podcast, which I fucking love, and so they referred to him in their review as Mikey Dad, so I keep calling him Mikey Dad. But you know, the guy whose wife is pregnant in Train to Busan, and his dialogue with the main dad, played by Gong Yoo, I think is how you pronounce that. Overall, I think horror comedies are something that can be a great gateway both for people who don't like horror comedies to getting into, or don't like horror at all, to kind of introduce them to it. So like if I'm trying to show somebody a horror movie and they really don't like horror movies, I'll try to show them like Cabin in the Woods or maybe Evil Dead, or like something that I know isn't gonna have this super imposing dread the entire time, where they have moments of levity and they'll be able to kind of get that tension off and they'll enjoy the movie more. And so I think it's both great for people who aren't huge horror fans, but then also it's obviously for those of us who are huge horror fans, which I know some people who like horror movies do not like horror comedies at all, and that's fine. I personally love them because it pokes fun at the genre and it's just like a light, fun-hearted thing where I don't like a lot of like straight up comedies. They tend to kind of bore me, and like I can enjoy certain moments but I don't find them super funny overall, and so I get bored with like the overall plot lines because they're usually not super interesting. I'm more a fan of like either horror or like like really well done dramas, or like the trashiest reality TV. Like I think it takes a lot to like hold my attention, which is weird because also I love watching like super long movies and super long shows and stuff like that. It just has to be to my taste. So straight up comedy shows and straight up comedy movies are not generally my taste. So horror comedy is where I find that like that comedic relief, and that is what is my comedy genre, I guess. So yeah, I really love horror comedies, and I hope you guys enjoyed me discussing some of my favorite ones and what my thoughts are on them and why I love them so much. I'm going to be trying to come out with some more stuff soon. I'm not really sure exactly what it's going to be. Probably going to be some more like quick videos like this that I can just sit down and film and get out while I'm trying to work on some scripts and such for some more in-depth projects. And yeah, so I hope everybody has a fantastic night, day, weekend, whatever time you are watching this, because who God knows when I'm gonna get this fucking uploaded and edited. So yeah, I hope everybody's doing good, and I will talk to you sometime soon. Once again, if you are new here and enjoyed this video, please subscribe because it helps a lot, and like and comment because engagement, we all know, is good. And yeah, I would love to hear, like, my dream is to build at least enough. I don't want to be some huge YouTuber. I just want to have enough of an audience that I can like interact with them and they can let me know what they like and what they don't like, and we can talk about horror movies and other things that I enjoy. And so yeah, I would love if you could help me do that. Thanks. Okay.